The ones who laugh the loudest in arrogance are often the first to choke on their own words. The universe has a way of turning the stage on those who think they're untouchable. The higher they climb on stolen power, the harder they crash when truth rips through their illusions. Chosen ones, your enemies have walked with smug faces for too long, thinking they could get away with their schemes. They whispered lies, threw dirt on your name, and mocked your struggles. But they made one fatal mistake. They thought they could toy with someone marked by the universe itself. What they never saw coming: the downfall waiting just around the corner, written in bold letters by fate itself. And when it hits, it won't be quiet. It won't be hidden. It will be loud, brutal, and undeniable. So if you are ready, hit that like button and subscribe. If this message speaks to you, it's because you were meant to hear it. And when you engage, you send a signal, not just to YouTube, but to the universe itself. More chosen ones need to wake up, and with every voice that rises, this force grows stronger. Now, let's get into it. The universe doesn't choose lightly. If you are marked, you carry a presence that unsettles the wicked. They sense it before they understand it, and that's why they hate you. It's not what you did, it's who you are. You don't need to lift a finger for them to fear you. Just your existence is a threat to their lies, their masks, their illusions. That's why they've spent their energy trying to break you down, smiling in your face while sharpening knives behind your back, spreading rumors, setting traps, hoping you'd fall into the darkness they designed for you. But here's where their arrogance blinds them. Powerful forces protect the chosen. You were never alone. While they plotted, the universe calculated. And now, their time is up. This isn't just about karma. This is about exposure. It's about the humiliating unraveling of those who thought they were untouchable. Watch how their carefully curated image begins to crack. How their words, once so convincing, turn against them. How their allies, sensing the shift, begin to abandon them one by one. You won't need to lift a hand. The same force that elevated you will now be the storm that topples them. Have you noticed it already? The strange slip-ups, the nervousness in their voice, the way they avoid your gaze. That's fear creeping in. That's the weight of their own actions coming back to collect. Some will fight it, trying to hold on to the false reality they built. But the truth doesn't care about their desperation. The universe has flipped the hourglass, and the last grains of their illusion are slipping away. Public humiliation is the final act. It's the ultimate unveiling, where the masks fall and the truth stands exposed for all to see. And it won't just be you witnessing it, the world will. They once used the crowd as their shield, but now that same crowd will be their downfall. People will whisper, they will point. The same ones who once believed their lies will be the first to turn against them. The irony, they did it to themselves. They wrote their own fate with every betrayal, every deception, every moment they underestimated you. And now, the show they orchestrated has one last twist. They are the main act, and the script isn't in their hands anymore. Chosen ones, the power that haunts your enemies isn't just fate. It's justice in motion. It's the weight of the universe balancing the scales. You were never the underdog. You were the test they failed. And now, as their downfall unfolds, remember this: you were never meant to be their prey. You were always the storm they feared. Brace yourself, because the celebrations are coming, not just for revenge, but for restoration. What was stolen will be returned. What was broken will be rebuilt. And what was lost, it was never truly lost. It was only waiting for the right moment to be restored. Their time of deception is over. Your time of rising has begun. And to you, yes, you, the chosen one, whether you just found this message or you've been walking this path with us for a while, know this: your presence here is no accident. The truth is unfolding, and your energy fuels this awakening. If you're ready to stand tall despite their whispers, embrace the power they fear, and turn their shock into your strength, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop number 77 in the comments if you're done apologizing for who you are. And now, let's break it down step by step. Because if you are truly chosen, you won't just hear this. You'll feel the pull to stay until the very end. Let's get started. Number 1. When the universe sets the trap, there's no escape. The most dangerous moment for a fool is when they think they've won. Your enemies celebrated too soon. They thought they could rewrite your past, twist your truth, and trap you in their web of deception. But what they didn't realize, the universe was watching, and it wasn't ignoring their actions. It was calculating. Every lie, every betrayal, every move they made against you was silently recorded, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. They weren't winning. They were walking straight into their own downfall. They thought they had you cornered. Maybe they spread rumors about you, dug up old mistakes, twisted the facts, and whispered just loud enough for the world to hear. They laughed, convinced they had buried you under the weight of your past. But here's where their arrogance betrays them. The past has no power over the chosen ones. While they were busy trying to use it against you, the universe was flipping the script. What they thought would destroy you is about to destroy them instead. That's the thing about universal justice. It doesn't operate on their schedule. It waits, it watches, and then, when they least expect it, it moves, swift, precise, unforgiving. Their biggest mistake wasn't attacking you, it was assuming they could play with the system and get away with it. They thought they were the ones in control, but they failed to see the bigger game. They weren't the hunters, they were the bait. And now, the trap they set is snapping shut, and there's no way out. Maybe you've been wondering, why did the universe let them get away with it for so long? That's what they wanted you to believe, that they were untouchable, that their lies would stand, that their power was absolute. But what they failed to realize is that silence is not approval. The universe was never ignoring them. It was letting them dig deeper, giving them just enough rope to hang themselves. It's like watching a gambler get cocky. At first, they win. They keep pushing their luck, thinking they're invincible. But the more they bet, the higher the stakes get, until they've risked everything without realizing the game was rigged against them all along. They were never winning. They were just being set up for the final blow. And now that moment has come. The weight of their own actions is caving in on them. Their confidence is cracking. They feel it, the shift. The whispers have changed direction. The same people they fooled before are now looking at them with doubt, with suspicion. The respect they once commanded is slipping through their fingers like sand. They thought they could expose you, but now they're the ones standing in the spotlight, stripped of their lies, their masks, their illusions. That's the power of being chosen. You don't have to fight. You don't have to chase revenge. You don't have to lower yourself to their level. The universe does it for you, and when it moves in ways that shake the ground beneath them. Their arrogance blinded them to the truth. You were never just another target. You were the test they failed. And now, as their world starts to crumble, as the same crowd that once cheered them on turns against them, they will understand exactly who they were messing with. They will see that the silence they mistook for weakness was actually the calm before their storm. And you will rise, unshaken, unbothered, unstoppable, because the chosen ones aren't meant to stay in the shadows. The universe aligns itself to bring justice, and when it does, it doesn't just humble your enemies, it humiliates them. Number 2, they dug their own grave. Now they have to lie in it. The most dangerous enemy is the one who believes their own lies, because when truth strikes, it doesn't just expose them, it annihilates them. Your enemies thought they were clever. They built their plans in the dark, weaving lies, spreading deception, manipulating people like pieces on a chessboard. They thought no one would ever see the real them, that they could keep hiding behind their carefully crafted masks, that the shadows would always protect them. But here's the truth they never saw coming. The very darkness they relied on is now turning against them. They believed they could control the narrative forever, that they could bury the truth so deep that no one would ever find it, that they could keep twisting reality to their advantage. But what they didn't understand is that the universe doesn't need to strike them down, because their own actions are already doing it for them. Every lie they told, it's now evidence. Every scheme they ran, it's now a ticking time bomb. Every betrayal they committed, it's now fuel for their own collapse. And the most brutal part, they did this to themselves. No outside force needed to intervene. No sudden act of destruction needed to be delivered. The universe simply turned on the light, and suddenly everyone saw them for who they really were. They built their power in secrecy, thinking they were untouchable. They surrounded themselves with people who clapped for their deceit. But what happens when the same people who once supported them start whispering behind their backs? What happens when those closest to them begin to see through the cracks in their facade? That moment is here. The exposure is happening, and it's anything but subtle. They feel it. The shift. The way the energy around them has changed. The way people no longer trust their words. The way their name, once respected, now carries doubt. The charm that used to work on everyone, it's fading. The manipulation that once kept them in control, it's failing. And now they are panicking. They see it slipping. They try to claw their way back, to explain, to justify, to spin the story in their favor. But it's too late. No one is listening. The same people they fooled are now looking at them with suspicion, with disgust, with realization. And that's when the worst part hits them. They never had real power. It was all an illusion, one that only worked as long as people believed in it. Now, no one believes anymore. That's the power of universal justice. It doesn't just take them down, it lets them destroy themselves. It lets them walk straight into their own demise, thinking they're still winning, right up until the moment the ground crumbles beneath them. And you didn't have to do anything. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need to fight them on their level. You didn't even need to defend yourself, because the universe already had a plan, and that plan was to let their own darkness be the weapon that ends them. That's the difference between them and you. They relied on deceit, while you stood in truth. They operated in shadows, while you walked with clarity. They spent all their energy trying to pull you down, while you kept rising. And now, they're exhausted from running their own game. The very lies they built their kingdom on are suffocating them. They thought they could control fate. They thought they could manipulate outcomes. They thought they could rewrite history. But fate doesn't play by their rules. Now, as their world collapses, all they can do is watch as the truth devours them. The same darkness they wielded against you has swallowed them whole. The same web of deception they spun has wrapped around them like chains. And you stand free, unbothered, untouchable, watching as the universe does what it always does: balance the scales. They thought they had buried you in the dark, but the only grave they dug was their own. Number 3. When the curtain falls, there's nowhere to hide. A false king fears only one thing: the moment the crowd sees he wears no crown. Your enemies built their power on illusion. They crafted a perfect image, a carefully controlled story where they were always the hero and you were the villain. They wore masks of respectability, convinced the world that they were untouchable. But here's what they never understood: a lie can only last as long as the truth remains silent. And now, the silence is over. They thought they could manipulate the system forever, that their status, their influence, and their carefully built reputation would protect them from consequences. But the universe has a way of balancing the scales. And when it does, justice isn't served in the shadows. It happens in broad daylight, where the whole world can see. This won't be a quiet downfall. There will be no chance for them to slither away unnoticed, no way to rewrite the narrative. The same audience they performed for, the same people they fooled and controlled, will now be the ones watching their collapse. They wanted attention. Now they have it, just not in the way they imagined. Public humiliation is the cruelest kind of justice because it leaves them nowhere to run. They spent years ensuring that people only saw what they wanted them to see. Now, their real face is being forced into the light. Every betrayal, every deception, every backhanded move they made against you is coming back like an avalanche. The cracks in their false empire have started to show, and soon the whole structure will come crashing down. Maybe you've asked yourself, why does their downfall have to be public? Simple, because their power was built on public perception. They weren't just satisfied with harming you privately. They needed an audience. They wanted others to turn against you, to doubt you, to mock you. They enjoyed watching you struggle. So now, the universe is making sure they learn a lesson they will never forget. The same stage they used to elevate themselves is now the site of their disgrace. The same crowd they controlled will be the first to turn against them, because that's how the world works. People love to watch a rise, but they love a fall even more. And when it happens, it won't be slow or quiet. It will be instant, merciless, and absolute. Imagine watching someone juggle glass balls, each one representing the lies they told, the people they manipulated, the fake power they held. They're so confident, smiling as they perform for the crowd. But then, one slip, one small miscalculation, one hand falters, and suddenly everything comes crashing down, shattering at their feet, right in front of everyone they wanted to impress. That's what's coming, and they feel it. The ones who used to walk with confidence now seem uneasy. The ones who mocked you are suddenly avoiding eye contact. They sense the shift, even if they won't admit it. The same people who once believed them without question are now asking, wait, was any of it real? And that's what will break them. Not just the exposure, but the realization that the illusion is gone, and they can never rebuild it. They can deny, they can make excuses, they can beg for sympathy, but it won't work. Because once people see the truth, they never unsee it. This isn't just about proving you right. This is about setting the record straight, once and for all. The lies they told, crushed. The respect they commanded, gone. The power they clung to, nothing but dust. And the best part? You didn't have to lift a single finger, because when the universe delivers justice, it does it in a way that no one can ignore. And as they stand there, exposed and powerless, they will finally understand exactly who they were dealing with. Number 4. the silent trap. They walked right into their own downfall. The deadliest hunter is the one that lets its prey come closer, thinking it's safe. Your enemies thought they had you figured out. They mistook your silence for surrender, your patience for weakness. They convinced themselves that you were too afraid, too powerless to fight back. They had no idea they were stepping straight into the trap you never had to set, because they built it themselves. They grew bold. They talked louder, acted recklessly, pushed further, believing there were no consequences. But what they didn't understand, the universe was never ignoring them. It was giving them space to expose themselves. And, oh, how they exposed themselves. They paraded their arrogance, flaunted their false victories, and kept digging deeper. You let them talk. You let them spread lies. You let them believe they were winning, and in their ignorance, they never realized the truth. You didn't have to strike back. The trap wasn't something you made. It was something they walked into, step by step, thinking they were untouchable. It's like watching a reckless gambler. At first, they win a few rounds. They feel unstoppable. They start betting more, running their mouth, convinced luck is on their side. But the game doesn't favor fools. The moment they think they own the table is the moment they've set themselves up for the biggest loss. And when that loss hits, there's no way to recover. Your silence wasn't compliance, it was strategy. Every moment you stayed quiet, they assumed they were gaining ground. They didn't realize they were just tightening the noose around their own fate. The more they pressed, the more obvious their true nature became. To everyone. They stopped being careful. They thought their lies would be enough. But they underestimated one thing. Truth doesn't need to be shouted. It reveals itself in time. And now, the time has come. Their words, their actions, their schemes, they've left a trail so undeniable that they can't backtrack, can't erase it, can't manipulate their way out. The very people they convinced before are now seeing them for what they truly are. The whispers are shifting. The eyes that once admired them are now filled with suspicion. That's the power of your stillness. It forced them to show their hand, and now they can't hide. They wanted to ruin your name, but now they're the ones scrambling to protect theirs. They wanted to paint you as weak, but now their desperation makes them look pathetic. They can feel the shift. They're trying to undo the damage, but it's too late. The more they struggle, the more obvious their guilt becomes. And you? You didn't have to do a thing. That's how the universe works for the chosen ones. It doesn't need chaos. It doesn't need noise. It simply lets the enemy walk themselves into destruction. You never needed to fight them. Their own actions fought for you. So when the moment comes, and it will, when their downfall is undeniable, when their panic becomes visible, when they realize the damage they did to themselves, remember this: you won by doing nothing. The universe aligned everything for you. Your silence was never weakness. It was your greatest weapon. Number 5. They tried to bury you, but now their lies are screaming the truth. A lie can run 1,000 miles, but truth only needs one step to catch up, and when it does, it drowns everything in its path. They thought they were smart. They twisted words, flipped narratives, and painted you as the villain in their carefully crafted story. They wanted the world to see you through their warped lens, to make you doubt yourself, to make others turn against you. But what they didn't realize: lies are weak. They demand maintenance, and the moment one piece cracks, the whole structure collapses. They ran their mouths like they were untouchable, like they were the narrators of your life. They fed the crowd falsehoods, hoping their deception would spread far enough to become truth. But truth doesn't bow to liars. It doesn't need validation, it doesn't need reinforcement, and most importantly, it doesn't stay buried. That's the beauty of being chosen. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to defend yourself. The universe already has a plan, and part of that plan is letting their own words become the weapon that exposes them. Because while they were busy running their mouths, they forgot something crucial. Lies have an expiration date. They thought they could control the narrative forever. They thought their web of manipulation was airtight. But the moment reality starts slipping through the cracks, it's over. The very stories they told to destroy you are about to be the megaphone that amplifies their downfall. Think about it. A house built on deception can't stand. At first, they might convince a few people, maybe even a crowd. But all it takes is one slip, one inconsistency, one person asking the right question, and suddenly the whole facade begins to tremble. Those who once blindly believed them will start to see the gaps, the contradictions, the way things don't add up. And once doubt sets in, it spreads like wildfire. They won't be able to keep up. They will scramble, trying to patch their crumbling story, but it will be too late. The truth is relentless. It doesn't wait. It doesn't care about their panic. It rises like a tide, swallowing the sandcastle they built with lies, washing everything away until only reality remains. And here's where it gets even better. They didn't just fail to destroy you. They made you stronger. The attention they tried to bring against you, the negativity they threw your way, it all backfired. The more they spoke about you, the more people became curious. The more they tried to silence you, the more others started watching, questioning, noticing. Instead of burying you, they ended up putting you in the spotlight. Their manipulation turned into a megaphone, broadcasting your resilience, your truth, your power. And now, the audience they gathered to turn against you is starting to see through the illusion. That's why the chosen ones don't fight for validation. You don't need to. The universe fights for you. It moves in ways that make sure everything hidden is revealed, everything stolen is returned, and every false accusation is turned into proof of your strength. And now they are standing there, exposed. The silence they used to fill with lies is suddenly deafening. They have no words left, no stories to spin, no more shadows to hide behind. The truth has arrived, and it's staring them right in the face. This is what they feared all along. Not just that you would survive, but that you would thrive, that you would rise above their games and become undeniable, that the very people they tried to deceive would see you standing tall, untouched, proven right, without you ever having to lift a finger. This isn't just justice. This is humiliation. And you are free. Free from their lies, free from their games, free from the weight they tried to place on your shoulders. The universe never let you down. It simply waited for the right moment to flip the entire script. So now, let them sit in the ruins of their deception. Let them taste the silence they once tried to force upon you. And while they struggle to comprehend how everything turned against them, you will be walking forward, untouched, unstoppable, and fully in your power. Number 6. When the universe rewards, it leaves no doubt. The sweetest victory is the one they swore you'd never taste. They wanted you broken. They wanted you lost in the chaos they created, stuck in the wounds they inflicted. They were so sure that their schemes would be the final chapter in your story. But what they didn't realize? The universe was already writing a new ending, one where you don't just survive, you thrive. The celebration that's coming isn't just about proving them wrong. It's not about petty revenge or rubbing their faces in your success. It's bigger than that. This is about restoration so complete, so undeniable, that it leaves no room for doubt. Not in your mind, not in theirs, not in anyone's. It's the kind of victory that shakes the ground, that rewrites history, that makes people stop and stare because they can't believe what they're witnessing. And that's exactly how it was designed. See, your enemies thought they had control. They thought they could dictate how your story ended. But the universe doesn't operate on their rules. It doesn't just balance the scales, it flips the entire system. What they took from you? It's coming back, multiplied. The doors they slammed in your face? New ones are opening, ones they'll never have access to. The pain they inflicted, it's turning into fuel that will push you further than they ever imagined. And the best part, they will have to watch. Not because you need their validation, not because you need an audience, but because the universe will make sure they see the results of their own failure. Every time they hear your name, every time they see you rise, it will be a reminder. They tried to bury you, but you were never meant to stay underground. Maybe you've wondered, why did it take so long? Why did I have to struggle while they seemed to thrive? Because this isn't just about getting what's yours. This is about building you into the kind of person who can handle what's coming. The rewards that are on their way aren't just random victories. They are tailor-made for you, designed with every sacrifice, every battle, every moment of patience in mind. This isn't a simple win. This is a reversal so complete that it feels surreal. The very things you thought you lost forever, the opportunities, the dreams, the peace of mind, it's all coming back in ways you never imagined. Not just returned, but elevated. The universe doesn't just give back. It multiplies, refines, and perfects. And when it's finally placed in your hands, you will know without a doubt that it was meant for you all along. And here's what will haunt them the most. It will look effortless. The same ones who tried to block you will watch as things fall into place for you without force, without struggle, without begging. The same ones who laughed at your setbacks will see you walk into opportunities they could never reach. They will feel the weight of what they lost, not because you took it from them, but because they wasted their energy trying to stop you instead of securing their own future. That's the power of being chosen. You don't chase what's meant for you, it finds you. And when it arrives, it doesn't just heal, it empowers. It doesn't just restore, it elevates. It doesn't just silence your enemies, it forces them to acknowledge they never had the power to stop you in the first place. And that's why this moment isn't just about rewards, it's about transformation. This isn't about proving a point or making a scene. It's about stepping into a version of yourself that no one, not even you, fully saw coming. No more struggling to be understood. No more waiting for validation. No more second-guessing what you deserve. The universe has spoken. Your time is now. Number 7. When justice strikes, your story becomes their warning. A fool doesn't learn from their own mistakes. They learn when they see someone else suffer for the same crime. Your enemies thought they could rewrite your story. They twisted the truth, manipulated those around you, and laughed as they watched you struggle. But what they didn't realize was this: your story isn't just about you, it's about them too. They didn't just make themselves your enemy, they made themselves an example. And now their downfall is about to teach a lesson they can't escape. This was never just about personal payback. This is bigger than you. When the universe moves, it doesn't just expose one liar, one betrayer, one enemy. It shifts the entire landscape. Everyone who watched in silence, who played along, who secretly supported those trying to tear you down, they will all have to face the truth now. Because what's about to happen isn't just a consequence, it's a warning. Your enemies were bold when they thought they were winning. They flaunted their lies like trophies. They whispered in the ears of anyone who would listen, thinking they had full control over how your story would be told. But the universe had other plans. And now, that same audience they once used against you, they're watching their downfall in real time. Imagine a stage play where the villain, convinced of their victory, stands in the spotlight, chest puffed, arms raised in triumph. And then, just as they begin their final monologue, the stage beneath them collapses. The audience gasps, not out of sympathy, but out of realization. They were watching a fraud the entire time. That's what's happening now. Your enemies are being stripped bare, their illusions shattered, their lies unraveling faster than they can contain them. And the crowd is watching. Those who once believed their words now see the truth. Those who once stood by in silence now understand the cost of looking the other way. And those who secretly sided with them, they're terrified. Because if this could happen to your enemies, what makes them think they're safe? That's the power of being chosen. Your victory doesn't just free you, it changes the entire game. Suddenly, people start questioning their own choices. The ones who sided against you feel the weight of their own silence. The ones who sat on the fence realize neutrality was never an option. This isn't just karma. It's a shift in the balance. And now, your story becomes a warning, not just to your enemies, but to everyone who thinks they can move the same way. It shows the world that betrayal isn't just a personal offense, it's a cosmic mistake. That trying to destroy a chosen one isn't just cruel, it's suicidal. Because the universe doesn't just restore what was taken from you, it multiplies it. And it doesn't just punish the guilty, it makes an example out of them. Your story is proof that the universe isn't blind, that justice isn't just a concept, it's an undeniable force. People will talk about what happened, they'll whisper about how the tables turned. Some will claim they always knew the truth. Others will pretend they never doubted you. And your enemies? They will live with the shame of knowing they played themselves. What they meant for destruction has become your testimony. What they thought would break you has now become your strength. They wanted to erase your name, but instead they made it unforgettable. And now, you move forward. Not just as someone who survived, but as someone whose story set the record straight. As someone whose enemies thought they had power, only to learn too late that they were never in control. Because when the universe moves in favor of the chosen ones, it doesn't just correct the past, it changes the future. Number 8. The mirror that shatters their illusions. A liar's greatest fear is not being called out, it's being seen for who they truly are. Your enemies thought they were safe behind their masks. They played the role well, smiling, pretending, weaving their lies so seamlessly that even they started to believe them. But the universe doesn't just punish wrongdoing, it exposes the heart behind it. This isn't just about their actions, it's about who they truly are underneath it all. They thought they could manipulate, deceive, and twist the truth in their favor. They assumed their clever words and false charm would shield them forever. But truth is a force that can't be outrun. And when it catches up, it doesn't just strip away their lies, it forces them to stand, fully exposed in front of the world. No more masks, no more performances, just raw, undeniable reality. This is where their reckoning begins. Not in whispers, not in shadows, but in broad daylight, under the weight of their own actions. And the worst part, the exposure mirrors their own heart. It's not just a fall from grace, It's a revelation of their true nature for everyone to see. Whatever they hid, whatever they denied, is now on display. If their actions were rooted in jealousy, the world will see their envy for what it is. If they moved with deceit, their lies will unravel faster than they can control. They once crafted a perfect image, carefully curating every move to deceive others. Now, their true reflection is staring back at them, and they can't look away. The very people they sought to impress, to control, to manipulate, are now seeing the cracks. The charm they once wielded like a weapon is gone, leaving behind only the ugliness of their own intentions. And that's the thing. This exposure isn't just for your enemies. It's for everyone who once believed in their deception. Friends, family, colleagues, the same people who stood by them will now witness the truth unfold before their eyes. The rumors they spread, the lies they told, the games they played, it all unravels piece by piece like a crumbling stage set before an audience that finally sees the actors for who they really are. It's chilling, isn't it? To realize that the ones who smiled in your face were the same ones sharpening the knife behind your back. And yet, this moment, this reckoning, was inevitable. Because the universe doesn't just restore balance, it makes sure justice is witnessed. It ensures that when the curtain falls, there is no question left about who was real and who was false. And your enemies, they are left with nothing but the weight of their own exposure. No more excuses, no more manipulations, no more hiding. They stand in the very spotlight they once used to attack others. Only this time, it's not admiration they're met with. It's judgment. Some of them will try to fight it, scrambling to rebuild their crumbling facades, desperate to control the narrative. But it's too late. The truth has already been seen, and once people see the truth, they can never unsee it. The damage is done, and it was never you who delivered it. It was their own actions coming back full circle. That's the power of being chosen. You don't have to seek revenge. You don't have to prove anything. The universe does it for you in a way that hits harder than anything you could have done yourself. Your enemies wanted control, but in the end, they lost the only thing that truly mattered, their illusion of power. And now, as they struggle under the weight of their own exposure, you stand untouchable. You were never the villain in their story, no matter how hard they tried to make you one. You were the lesson they refused to learn. And when the truth comes crashing down, there is no escaping its impact. They wanted to write your downfall. Instead, they scripted their own. Number 9. When the power shifts, they won't know what hit them. The weight of false power is heavy, but when it crumbles, it crushes the ones who held it. They walked around like kings, believing their control over you was permanent, arrogant, smug, untouchable. They thought they could twist the story, manipulate the people around you, and dictate how this all ends. But what they never saw coming, the universe was never theirs to control. It let them play their little game. It let them feel powerful. But power that's stolen, power built on deception, never lasts. And when the shift happens, it doesn't come slowly. It's instant, it's brutal, it's irreversible. One day they were at the top, dictating your story. The next, they're scrambling, panicked, watching everything they built collapse like a house of cards. The same people who once stood by them, laughing at you, now look at them differently. The whispers have changed direction. The respect they demanded is replaced by doubt, by disgust. The admiration they once basked in, it's gone. And now, for the first time, they feel it. Real fear. Not the fake confidence they used as a shield, not the arrogance that kept them blind. Pure, undeniable fear, because they know what's coming, the same control they thought they had over you. Now, they're the ones at the mercy of forces far greater than themselves. This isn't just a loss, it's a public dethroning. And the best part? You didn't have to do a thing, because the universe fights for the chosen. And when it steps in, it doesn't just remove your enemies, it erases their power. The influence they thought was permanent, gone. The respect they once commanded, shattered. The people who once followed them, turning their backs one by one. They can't escape it. There's no undoing what's been set in motion, no rewinding the truth, no running from what they set in motion against you. And you rise. Not because you sought revenge, not because you fought dirty like they did. You rise because it was always meant to be this way. Because what they tried to steal from you, what they tried to bury, was never truly lost. The universe was just waiting for the right moment to return it. And now, that moment is here. Number 10. The slow burn of their collapse. A spectacle the universe makes sure everyone sees. A liar's worst nightmare isn't exposure, it's having nowhere left to hide. Your enemies thought they were safe behind their masks. They walked with confidence, convinced that their lies would stand forever. They built their castles on deception, propped up by illusions, false alliances, and empty words. But the universe never lets a house of cards stand for too long. When it starts to collapse, it doesn't happen all at once. It unravels piece by piece, slow, humiliating, and impossible to ignore. At first, they'll pretend nothing's happening. They'll double down on their lies, force their smiles, act like they're still in control. But you'll see it. The cracks forming beneath their feet. The subtle tremors in their voice. The nervous glances. The hesitation where there was once arrogance. The weight of their own deception is catching up to them, and they feel it. It's almost comical, watching them scramble, trying to plug the holes in their sinking ship, pretending the water isn't rising. Their so-called power is slipping through their fingers, and no matter what they do, they can't stop the downfall that's already in motion. And the best part? Everyone sees it. The very people who once cheered for them start to step back, whisper, exchange looks. At first, their allies hesitate, not wanting to abandon ship too soon. But then the truth keeps piling up, and suddenly, loyalty turns into self-preservation. The fake supporters, the enablers, the ones who stood beside them in their deceit, they start distancing themselves. Nobody wants to go down with a sinking fraud. It's like watching an actor forget their lines on stage, panicking as the audience watches in awkward silence. They wanted to control the narrative, but now they are the joke. The same people they sought validation from are now the ones shaking their heads, watching them spiral. This isn't just a quick fall, it's a dragged-out humiliation, a slow-motion disaster, a spectacle the universe ensures is unforgettable. And while they struggle to hold it together, you don't even have to do anything. The universe is working on your behalf. Every deception, every betrayal, every moment they underestimated you, it's all coming back to them now. They wanted to play games. Now they're the main attraction in a tragic comedy. And the worst part for them, there's no way out. The truth is out in the open, and no matter how desperately they try to rewrite the story, the audience already knows how it ends. Number 11. From their attacks to your applause, your pain was never wasted. They threw dirt on your name, but they didn't realize they were planting the seeds of your legacy. They thought they were burying you. Every insult, every betrayal, every moment they mocked your struggle. They believed it was breaking you. But what they failed to understand is that pressure doesn't destroy the chosen. It refines them. They didn't put you in a grave. They put you in the fire. And what comes out of fire? Gold. Look back for a moment. Every time they tried to humiliate you, every time they tried to make you doubt your own worth, what happened? You survived. You kept pushing forward when they expected you to fall. And now, the very pain they threw at you is being transformed into the foundation of your honor. Your journey was never a series of accidents. It was a carefully crafted path leading to something greater. The universe doesn't waste suffering. It repurposes it. It molds the scars into armor. Every setback was a setup. Every wound became wisdom. They thought they were destroying you, but in reality, they were building something they would live to regret. They don't see it yet, but they will. They will witness your name rising where they once tried to erase it. They will hear people praising the same strength they once ridiculed. The same crowd that once turned away will now be forced to watch as the universe lifts you higher than they ever imagined. And the most satisfying part, they will have no choice but to see that they played a part in their own defeat. Because here's the truth, they were never in control. They thought they were writing your downfall, but the pen was never in their hands. The universe was just letting them believe they had the power, watching as they unknowingly contributed to the very thing they feared most, your rise. Ever wondered why the chosen ones go through the worst storms? Why life seems unfairly cruel while others move through life unbothered? Because what's meant to be great must first be tested. You weren't made for mediocrity. You were built for something higher, something that required endurance, strength, and resilience. And now, as you step into your power, the ones who tried to strip you of it will be the first to witness your transformation. Your pain was never about breaking you. It was about shaping you into something undeniable. They tried to shame you, but now, their voices will be drowned out by applause. The insults they threw at you will be remembered not as your downfall, but as proof that you overcame. Every betrayal, every attempt to humiliate you, will be displayed as evidence of your resilience. And don't be surprised when some of them try to switch sides, when the same people who laughed at you suddenly pretend they've supported you all along, when they try to stand next to you, hoping some of your shine rubs off on them. It's what happens when the universe lifts a chosen one into the light. Those who once looked down on you will now struggle to even make eye contact. Because deep down, they know they miscalculated. They know they bet against the wrong one. They know that their efforts to destroy you only made you stronger. And the worst part, they know that they will forever be remembered as the ones who tried and failed to bring you down. That's your power. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to live small, to go unnoticed. Everything they tried to use against you has been flipped, repurposed, and woven into your victory. This is not just a comeback story. This is a reckoning. Your enemies will see that they were never the authors of your fate. They were just the footnotes in your success story, the background noise to your rise, the lessons you outgrew. And as you take your place where you were always meant to be, the world won't just see your success. They'll see your journey. They'll see the storms, the battles, the trials, and they'll realize that nothing could break you. And that is the greatest public honor of all. Number 12. When envy turns into their own undoing. A jealous heart always exposes itself in the end. It rots from the inside out until everyone can smell the decay. Your enemies thought they were playing a smart game, hiding their resentment behind fake smiles, throwing subtle jabs, planting seeds of doubt in others about you. They wanted you to believe that their hostility had a justifiable reason, that they had the moral high ground. But the universe? It doesn't just expose their actions, it reveals their motives. And now, their envy is no longer a secret. It's laid bare for all to see. At first, they fooled people. They painted themselves as victims, as righteous, as justified in their hatred toward you. But they underestimated the silent power of universal justice, because when the truth comes out, it doesn't just show the lies, they become the lie. It's no longer just about what they did to you, it's about why they did it. And when people start connecting the dots, the humiliation is far greater than any punishment. You see, envy is a disease. It eats away at a person's soul, distorts their judgment, and makes them bitter beyond repair. And the worst part, it's obvious. They thought they were being discreet, but the universe has a way of magnifying what they tried to hide. And now, everyone sees it. Their obsession with you, their unspoken jealousy, the way their eyes burned with resentment whenever you succeeded, it all becomes crystal clear. Their downfall won't come from you. It will come from their own actions, their own choices, their own inability to control their bitterness. They made the mistake of believing they could keep their envy under wraps. But envy isn't silent forever. It leaks, it spills, and eventually it drowns the one who holds onto it too tightly. They thought they could drag your name through the mud, but now they're the ones sinking in it. The people who once listened to them are now looking at them differently. They're questioning, why are they so obsessed with you? Why do they always have something negative to say? Why does your success seem to bother them so much? And just like that, the tables turn. What was once a hidden resentment is now an open shame. They aren't the righteous warriors they pretended to be. They're just bitter souls who couldn't handle your light. That's the power of being chosen. You don't have to expose them. The universe does it for you. You don't have to seek revenge. It happens naturally. Their envy becomes their biggest curse. Because envy is loud. Envy is obvious. Envy is pathetic. And now, they have nowhere to hide. Their allies start backing away, their supporters start questioning them, and the respect they once had crumbles like ash in the wind. They thought they could weaponize your past against you. But in reality, they weaponized their own jealousy against themselves. They thought they were bringing you down. Instead, they exposed their own insecurities, their own failures, their own weakness, and people are seeing it for what it really is. The humiliation isn't just in being caught, it's in the realization that everyone knows the truth now. They didn't hate you because you wronged them, they hated you because they could never be you. And you rise, without lifting a finger, without breaking a sweat. Because when you're chosen, your very existence is a mirror that forces the wicked to see themselves. And what they see, they can't handle it. So let them crumble under the weight of their own envy. Let them destroy themselves trying to bring you down. Because what they meant for your downfall has only made your victory that much sweeter. And just like that, the truth stands tall, and the envious fall. They thought they could bury you, but all they did was dig their own graves. The universe doesn't let injustice go unanswered, and now their downfall is on full display for the world to see. Your rise was inevitable, and their exposure was unavoidable. If this message resonated with you, like this video, subscribe, and drop number 77 in the comments to confirm your power as a chosen one. Share this with others, because the more chosen ones awaken, the stronger we become. Your victory is unfolding. Stay ready.